Good afternoon. I'm sitting here with the Queen of Feng Shui. and you're
I'm Rauch.
Karen, and she is the king. Karen is in a networking group of mine, and it's a fabulous networking group with great people. And she graduated from University of Kentucky. And so when I'm thinking about using Feng Shui, I'm thinking about people who have houses that might have to be adopted, or they might not have to be adopted, but they still would utilize the same principles.
Right.
So maybe, Karen, you can explain what is Feng Shui.
All right. So we're going to talk about how to adapt your home, both for creating wellness and, obviously ease of circulation throughout the house, etc. So first of all, let me just describe a little bit about what Feng Shui is. It's a method of arranging your environment so that it supports you consistently, as opposed to willy-nilly whenever it feels like it, or you don't even know if it is. So if you want to get a flower to bloom, you don't pick on the flower, you tend to its environment to make that flower bloom. It's the same thing about creating environments that are supportive. Everybody knows you don't want to, sleep in a nuclear power plant radio reactor,
for sure.
Or you don't want to put your baby down by the edge of the pool to take a nap, because it's obviously like a bad environment or a potential horrible outcome.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that we are hedging our bets towards positive outcomes and actually consciously creating those outcomes. So I wrote this book, Move Your Stuff, Change Your Life. Woo!
Yeah, best-selling author.
Best-selling author. It's #1 on Amazon right now, and architecture and Feng Shui, I think, in the audio selection. And that is a Feng Shui primer, just to get you just in the know about Feng Shui. And then this book is my second book, Make a Shift, Change Your Life, and that covers a lot of the healthy home type things with regards to electromagnetic fields, radio frequencies, Wi-Fi, and all the things that you might bring in your house from a medical perspective, or you just gotta have to be conscious about. Maybe there's an upside to it, but there might be a downside to it that we're not aware of.
And we're in our podcasts, we're trying to help people create better lifestyles and more healthy lifestyles, and certainly safer lifestyles. Safe
lifestyles. So there is a saying in Feng Shui, what's closest to you over the most amount of time has the most impact on you. So, if I'm sitting in this chair 8 hours a day, I better make sure this chair is a good one and in a good position. So the most, I care about your bed, because that's usually 8 hours out of the 24. I care about your daytime place where you hang out the most. That's 16 out of 24. And then you're running around to the grocery store and the movie theaters in between. But we want to really get those places where you spend the most amount of time to be as perfected as possible from a Feng Shui perspective.
And I found out today I need to put a red shirt behind my chair and a mirror in front of my desk to make me better.
He's in a classic, what I consider a dunce position, where your desk is facing the corner of the room, with your back to the breadth of the room.
A dunce position.
Most people don't know that the fallout of the conditions that they're putting themselves in. I was just speaking to somebody the other day about a local restaurant here that closed, and the first time I went to it, I said, this restaurant is not going to last very long at all.
Sure enough.
And it closed, and that person that I was speaking to said, oh, I went there once, and she says, I don't know why I didn't go back, but I never did. And it's that type of thing that you can create success in your business or your health or your relationships or your career, or not. And most people are scratching their head as to why, thinking it's just bad luck. But it could be that we are talking about the subconscious creation of our environment that's really just not supporting us. And when it's not supporting you, your personal energy is having to take up the slack. So if you're exhausted, not getting a good night's sleep, the myriad of stress.
Making everything more difficult.
It's not a free ride. We want you to be in the flow. So people that have health issues certainly would want to pay attention to Feng
Absolutely.
Shui.
This is what I was going to say, is that the people with strokes and TBIs and any other disease, you don't need another thing to make it difficult. Actually, you want to slide down to make it good.
Exactly. So this, the reason that this is colored this way, this is the map of Feng Shui, and you could just walk in any room and just hold it like this, because the door of the map is always on the bottom of my book like this, and you can rearrange everything according to this little map. And so if this is the bottom, the door side, if you come in and across your threshold and you go to the right front part of the room or the home, you would be in what's called the helpful people and travel area, or heaven wa, or there's many different names for it. But the reason I wanted to point out the front right part of your house or room is because that governs the head, the head body part.
Right.
And so I think that's pretty important.
Really important for a stroke survivor.
Yeah.
I've already had a brain injury.
So if we have any issues from a Feng Shui perspective in this area, it would exacerbate bad luck towards the head body part.
Right.
Also the head man of the house. It governs the head man. So
Not the woman.
Not the woman. The woman is all the way back on the right, back here. So the front right part of the house governs the head man, the back right governs the head woman, and reproductive and abdomen body parts. So
Even the Me Too environment, wouldn't they want to be up there with them?
I don't know what you're saying, but okay. The love and relationship, yeah. So just understanding what you might have in that area. So that front right area of the house governs, or the metal element governs that area. Metal element. So some people have a fireplace in that area. That would be fire melting the metal. It's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors game with the 5 elements of Feng Shui. There's water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And so we want metal to really thrive there. And if you have a fireplace or something very fiery, maybe it's an animal print room or leather or a bunch of red colors, or maybe that front right-hand piece of your house is missing. It's literally chipped out of the house, and your house kind of is shaped like that, and you don't even have any energy in the home.
So contemporary houses.
They have chips all over the place,
Right.
and we call them missing pieces. And when you have missing pieces, you have missing energy pieces, holding those body parts, those people, head, woman, eldest daughter, whatever it is. And then those people just don't have that pool of energy, of resources to pull from. This is really about creating natural patterns. There is natural order in the universe. There's the mathematics of a leaf and a daisy and an artichoke and nautilus shell. There's mathematics everywhere. We're using quantum energy. Everything is energy. Sorry if you don't believe it, but it's true. And so we're just trying to organize the energy patterns that are most aligned with nature in a way that helps us thrive. So you can either be in a growing, blooming, thriving environment, or a wilted, depleting, or dying environment. We want to hedge our bets towards the former.
Better,
And but I really was concerned about the front right-hand part of houses for people that have these issues. And so we're looking for supportive items that would go there. I wouldn't have a lot of clutter in there. That equals clutter. Like physical, it's a direct translation from what's going on in your house is what's going on in your life.
So clutter in my office isn't so good either.
Clutter is not anybody's friend. Let me just give you a little idea for those of you who are like stuck with your clutter, because a lot of times clutter is it's the inability to make a decision about it. And maybe that is troublesome with people who have had head injuries.
For sure.
Just the organization in 3-dimensional space. Often it is sleep deprivation, but it's also head injury that could be causing this lack of you just can't pull it together, and that's a spatial thinking brain issue. So I'm trying to reframe, because sometimes people have a tendency to hold on to the past And my job is to get you to dream about the future
Right.
and dream about how your future could be.
Right.
You know, I can't talk anybody into anything if they just truly will never change their mind and aren't willing to
Right.
believe
That's right.
it's different.
Right.
When people take doctors' diagnosis as gospel,
Right.
that's challenging. You gotta believe,
Right.
and
Absolutely. And
that
in
gets the
stroke,
ball rolling.
There's a lot of bad, I shouldn't say bad, but
False
advice
Mm-hmm.
that is not really relevant to people, and in some cases just not true.
I'm telling you, I have had people tell me I've done miracles. I haven't done miracles. I've just aligned their spaces that are supportive.
Right.
But according to the doctor, who didn't have a clue, they thought I never suspected that outcome. You know, it's a miracle or whatever.
Sure.
But when you have a diagnosis from a doctor that says there's nothing else you can do, I would recommend looking at the environment that you're in that potentially have
Right.
created that problem.
Right. And that's,
So
and-
unless your doctor's doing a house call, you need to take
Right.
one more
and
step.
virtually every stroke survivor gets that story. There's nothing much more you can do, and mostly it happens when reimbursed therapy stops, which is what I'm.
Right, it's
my,
a money
my
thing.
foundation
Right.
is focused on that point, exactly that point.
Mm-hmm. Right. So your doctor is not making the house call and coming to your environment. I mean, I've gone to people's homes and I found literally, quote, the smoking gun of the thing that is creating their issue. Nobody connected the dots between something in their environment and the health issue.
Right.
And that's what I do. That's I go to people's homes. I make
Right.
house calls.
House call. Not the doctors.
I don't even believe in half that stuff. It's an energy thing. So from a clutter standpoint, you know, if you have like my hand is full of these 2 books, and that space is filled, there's nothing more I can squeeze in there because it's filled with these books. But if I take it away, it's not nothing. What I have done by taking it away is I have actually filled my hand with infinite potential. So I want you to start thinking about, you know, when in doubt, throw it out, because the connection between even my non-stroke
Right.
people,
Right.
when they get decluttered, they always go like this. They're like, I go, what are you doing? They're like, on my head. It's just so like
So
clear and
uplifting.
just they can think more clearly.
More clearly, right.
And so, to me, the clutter extremely important to manage, handle, set up an organizational style that is
Right.
supportive to you, that makes sense. You know, if you're I got to see it to know it's there. If it's in a
Right.
file, it's gone. You know, we have to understand the way you think in 3-dimensional space and create that accordingly. But to understand that space equals opportunity.
Right.
Space doesn't equal nothing and I'm poor or whatever you've
Right.
got around it, or I don't have the thing, or it might be, you know, whatever. I would say get as much space, because that's infinite potential for new things to come in that would support your future
Right.
of health, recovery, walking, talking, whatever,
Sure.
as opposed to, oh, the good old days are in the past and it's a downhill slide from
Right.
here.
Oh, that's not true.
It's not true, and it's totally possible to recreate health.
Sure. So, thank you so much, Karen. You know,
Oh, come on, I could go on forever.
I know. Well,
Let me give them a little tip.
Give them a tip.
If they want to go to moveitwithkaren.com,
Okay.
that's a little site. You type in your email and you'll get a webinar that you can watch about basic furniture placement
Right.
for you know, respect and support, and so you're not in a vulnerable position.
Right.
And you can come sort of forward with a little bit more, like, you know, I'm going to talk to my doctor, I'm going to talk to my insurance company,
Right,
you know,
right.
and have that respect. And I think that's important.
Absolutely.
So moveitwithkaren.com. Hopefully that webinar will be helpful for you.
Right. And so thank you really a lot. It's
All
just,
right.
Karen did a presentation at our group, and I was so impressed with it. I just thought this would be so helpful to people with brain injuries of one type or another. So thank you.
All right. Have a good one.